my God, why have you forsaken me? And are so far from my cry and from the words of my distress. I speak with you in the name of God, the Father and Mother of us all. Amen. I like to lift heavy things, especially now as we are sequestered at home to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Over the years, I have found the only 3 healthy responses to stress are prayer, exercise, and a good night's sleep. So, I've been trying to get under the barbell 4 times a week lately. This past Monday was squat day. If you don't know the squat exercise, it's pretty simple. You load weight onto a barbell and then place it across your back. You squat down, and then just exactly when your hips are slightly below your knees, you stand back up. Monday, as I did my squats in my garage gym, I noticed something. My squat rack is up against a wall, which puts the light fixture behind me while I'm lifting. As I stood up from a rep, I noticed my shadow on the wall with the bar on my back looked like a crucifix. I wondered in that moment, how heavy was the cross that Jesus carried? I prefer to squat after a good night's sleep. Rest is essential to lifting. Jesus was arrested the night before, put on trial all night long. He wasn't well rested. Even before that, he lived under the stress of death threats his entire ministry. More than once, he had to flee Judea and even Galilee. More than once, he had to flee to Gentile-heavy areas until the heat settled down. How heavy was the cross? To perform a successful lift, like a heavy squat, you have to have your mind clear and focus solely on the lift. You have to set aside all your emotions and channel your energy into the lift. After all the intensity of years of traveling and healing and preaching, he comes to Jerusalem knowing exactly what awaits him. After Judas betrays him and Peter denies him and the 12 abandon him, Jesus was an emotional wreck, emotionally beaten to a pulp. How heavy was that cross? A couple of years ago, I injured my back, and it was 6 to 8 months before I could lift heavy again. Getting out of bed was torture the first few weeks, much less lifting anything. A laundry basket, a book, the Bible, a coffee mug, lifting anything hurt. Jesus had been beaten and spat upon, kicked and punched and slapped. Then he was scourged. The Romans were experts at torture. They literally knew how to beat a person within an inch of their life. The whip they used to flog people had strands of leather on the end with metal pieces woven into them. The tails would rip the flesh from a person's back with each strike. The muscles of Jesus' back were torn to shreds before they even put the crossbeam on him. How heavy the cross. Like a lot of folks, I keep a water bottle nearby while I'm working out. Being well hydrated is important to lifting. When we are dehydrated, our blood thickens and the vessels contract, restricting the blood flow to the muscles, denying them crucial oxygen and energy supplies needed to function. Jesus didn't have anything to drink after the Last Supper with the disciples. Jesus is in a desert climate too, where the lack of humidity and the heat of the sun with the added wind will suck the moisture right out of you. The blood loss from the flogging further dehydrated him. How heavy the cross. And this was before the Roman soldiers stretched out Jesus on the cross, nailed his arms and legs to the wood, and lifted him into the air. Once there, Jesus slowly suffocated as fluid gathered in his lungs. The reason they nailed his feet to the cross wasn't to keep him on the cross. No, giving the victims something to stand on enabled them to painfully, excruciatingly lift themselves up so they could breathe just a little easier. They nailed his feet to the cross so that he would die slower. The cross was heavier than we'll ever know. Yet, the cross, this torturous and cruel device, is what we hold as our symbol of life. It is a testimony to the transformative power of God. In the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, the cross is transformed from an element of suffering and death, of oppression and cruelty, into a sign and symbol of life. So, my brothers and sisters, let me end with a question. If God has the power to perform such a transformation, what transformation can God perform in and through us?